Today, we're going to dive into a case that literally changed everything. We're talking about Ted Bundy. His horrific crimes back in the 1970s forced a total rethink of how police hunt for killers, how we understand the darkest parts of the human mind, and how we, the public, perceive the very nature of evil. And we're going to start with this quote from the man himself. It's just chilling, right? It's this rare peek behind the curtain, showing a man who is completely disconnected from the basics of human connection. And that's terrifying, especially when you compare it to the charming, handsome guy everyone thought they knew. And that's the big question, isn't it? This is the central puzzle of Ted Bundy. He wasn't some loner hiding in the shadows. No, he was a master of hiding in plain sight. So today, we're going to dissect how he built this perfect persona and used it to become one of history's most notorious predators.
All right, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the all-American mask he wore. Then we'll trace his terrifying campaign of terror across the country. We'll get into the psychology, the mind of the killer. After that, we'll cover his wild captures and escapes. And finally, we'll talk about the massive legacy he left behind, how this one man changed the system forever.
Okay, so first up, let's pull back the curtain on the person the world thought they knew. On the surface, Ted Bundy looked like the perfect guy. He was smart, involved in politics, and even seemed to care about helping people. This public face, it wasn't just a front, it was his most powerful weapon.
And look at this list. I mean, it's just wild. A university degree in psychology? He wasn't just studying it, he was weaponizing it, learning how to manipulate people. Working on political campaigns gave him this air of respectability. But the craziest part? He volunteered at his suicide crisis hotline. He was literally on the phone, talking people out of despair, all while harboring the darkest secrets.
But, of course, that polished image was all just a mask. Underneath it all, his childhood was, well, it was a mess. There were huge family secrets about who his parents were, which created a lot of confusion for him. He grew up around a grandfather who was known to be a violent, abusive man. And the warning signs were there from the very beginning, from incredibly disturbing stories like that incident with the knives when he was just 3, to a pattern of petty crime and voyeurism as a teenager. This wasn't a sudden break, it was a slow burn. So you have this deeply troubled past, and now we're going to see how that exploded into a full-blown campaign of terror across the country. By the mid-70s, the darkness inside Bundy wasn't just thoughts anymore. It became a horrifying reality for dozens of young women. And he had a type, a very, very specific type. We're talking young, college-aged women, often with long, dark hair, parted right down the middle. Investigators and profilers believe this wasn't random at all. They think this very specific look mirrored an ex-girlfriend who broke his heart, suggesting his crimes were a twisted form of revenge and control.
This timeline, it's terrifying because it shows just how mobile he was, and this is what made him so incredibly hard to catch. Remember, back in the 1970s, police departments in different states didn't really talk to each other. So you had police in Washington, then Utah, then Colorado, all investigating what they thought were separate local cases with no idea it was all the work of one man in a tan Volkswagen Beetle.
And this is the really twisted part, how he did it. It was all about psychology. He preyed on people's kindness. He'd put his arm in a fake sling and ask for help carrying books. Or he'd pretend to be a cop. He was exploiting our natural instinct to trust and to help. His infamous car was even rigged for kidnapping. He used our own social rules against his victims to get them where he wanted them. Okay, so we've seen what he did and how he did it. But the biggest question is always, why? To get anywhere close to an answer, we have to look inside his head, at the clinical diagnoses that tried to explain the man behind the monster.
You hear the word psychopath thrown around a lot, but Bundy is like the textbook definition. And it's so important to understand, this is not the same as being crazy or out of touch with reality. Oh no, Bundy knew exactly what he was doing. He understood right from wrong. He just didn't care. He had zero empathy, zero remorse. It was like a switch for compassion was just missing.
And then, layered on top of that psychopathy, you have this raging case of narcissistic personality disorder. This is that profound, inflated sense of self-importance. It's the belief that you're so special, so superior, that the normal rules just don't apply to you. For Bundy, his crimes were the ultimate expression of that need for power and total domination over others. So let's just connect the dots here. On the psychopathy side, you've got the charm he used as a weapon, the constant, easy lying, and the complete inability to feel bad for what he did.
And on the narcissism side, oh man, deciding to represent himself in court, firing his own lawyers, that is peak narcissism. He needed to be the star, even if it meant sealing his own fate. The mask of sanity. I mean, what a perfect phrase, right? It comes from a psychiatrist who did foundational work on psychopathy, and it perfectly captures what Bundy was doing. He built this flawless, normal-looking mask to wear in public, all to hide the absolute monster that was lurking just beneath the surface.
But no matter how smart he thought he was, he eventually got caught. And you'd think that would be the end of the story, right? But with Bundy, getting caged just started a whole new, even crazier chapter. He was captured, but he was a long way from being contained.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. He escapes from custody not once, but twice. The first time, he's in a courthouse library and just straight up jumps out of a second-story window and disappears into the mountains. But the second escape was way more calculated. He literally sawed a hole in a cell ceiling, crawled through the jail, and walked out the front door. And that escape led directly to his deadliest rampage yet. And this is where everything changed. After his escape, he makes his way to Florida. And the attack on the Chi Omega sorority house, it wasn't cold and calculated anymore. It was pure frenzy, absolute chaos. He was sloppy. And in that chaos, he finally made a fatal mistake. He left behind bite mark evidence on one of his victims, a piece of forensic proof that would help put him away for good.
Now think about this. His trial in Florida was the first murder trial ever broadcast nationally in the United States. It was a total spectacle. Bundy, acting as his own lawyer, turned the courtroom into his personal stage. He was playing to the cameras, charming the audience, and becoming this bizarre, macabre celebrity while the whole country watched from their living room.
So, Ted Bundy's story ends with his execution in 1989. But his legacy? Well, that's a whole other story. The shockwaves from his crimes completely and permanently reshaped the American justice system as we know it. This is the so what of the whole story. The absolute nightmare of trying to catch this guy, force law enforcement to get smarter. The FBI's famous behavioral analysis unit, the profilers, pretty much born from cases like this. The need for national crime databases so states could finally connect the dots, that came from this. It pushed forensic science forward, and it started a huge debate about the media's role in creating celebrity killers, a conversation we're still having today. In the end, the most chilling lesson from Ted Bundy is just how normal evil can look. It can be handsome, it can be intelligent, it can be charming. It proves that the most dangerous monsters are the ones who don't look like monsters at all. And that leaves us with a really unsettling question, doesn't it? If evil can wear a smile, how do we ever learn to see past the mask?